A federal judge over the last few hours cleared the final obstacle for the Justice Department to publicly release a report written by former special counsel Jack Smith that details his investigation into Donald Trump's criminal efforts to overturn the 2020 election. In her ruling, Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Cannon said she had no jurisdiction over this case, and her decision means we could see that report as soon as midnight tonight. This is all happening upon the resignation of the special counsel, Jack Smith, after handing in a sweeping, much larger report that also details his criminal investigation into Trump's mishandling of classified documents. DOJ says it only wants to release that one to members of Congress as Judge Cannon fights its public release. Joining us at the table, MSNBC legal analyst and former top official at the Department of Justice, Andrew Weissman's here. Also joining us, New York Times Justice Department reporter Glenn Thrush is here, and professor of history at New York University, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, is here. Andrew Weissman, I start with you. Where's Jack Smith? Where'd he go?
So, under the rules, Jack Smith, as his final act under the special counsel regulations, has to write a report. And that report, under the rules, is given privately to the Attorney General. So it was really understandable that when he did that, when he handed this in now several days ago, he's sort of done. The issue of all the litigation and what's happening, that's on the Attorney General of the United States as to whether he wants to make it public and the litigation of that. That's not part of what the special counsel does. So I understand Jack Smith saying, we've done what we can do. Remember, he also, you cannot indict a sitting president. You cannot proceed with a criminal case against a sitting president, which is why he moved to dismiss without prejudice the two criminal cases that he had brought because of the imminency of Donald Trump assuming that. But what that really leaves is Merrick Garland litigating the 2 volumes of this final report. And unless the Supreme Court intervenes, it really looks like at 12:01 tonight. Unless Merrick Garland sits on it for some reason, we should be seeing publicly the volume 1 about the January 6th case with some redactions for instance, grand jury or classified material. But the fight is going to be, and is Judge Cannon is saying, I want hearings, and I'm essentially kicking this can down the road, and it's going to be a slow walked on volume 2 and whether it can go even to Congress, because Merrick Garland has said, I'm not planning on releasing it publicly because I'm concerned about the fairness of a trial for the 2 co-defendants. Footnote, there never will be that trial. But he wants to give the report to Congress, and Judge Cannon saying, not so fast, I want to have a hearing. If that hearing lasts until January 20th, this is all moot.
I mean, Glenn Thrush, I'm going to ask what I want to ask. How does DOJ continue to get outplayed while Joe Biden is president and Merrick Garland is the attorney general? I've lost the plot on all this. Why don't they go give it to the attorney general and the president and brief the country on what grand jurors made up of peers of Donald Trump found in these investigations that were only halted by his election?
Well, first of all, Garland made the commitment to release all of the special counsel reports, starting with Durham from the Comey controversy. And as everyone well recalls, the report on Joe Biden had profound political consequences, probably as significant as any special counsel report you are ever going to see, certainly more than the ones that we're looking at right now. That's a good question. I mean, they play by the book over there till the very end. And the president has not intervened in previous instances, and there's no inclination, I can tell you, from Merrick Garland or his senior staff, those of them that are still even in the building, to contradict Cannon in any way. It's just an absolutely stunning reversal. All of the power has moved from the Garland Justice Department and Jack Smith to the Trump team. And I mean, the most extraordinary part of this, or one of them, everything's extraordinary about it, but one of the really extraordinary parts about this is Todd Blanche, the man who's represented Trump in these cases, is about to take over as the #2 in the Justice Department, arguably one of the most important positions in Washington. It's just mind-blowing how things have turned upside down.
Well, let me press you on what else is being suppressed by Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, and it's vital information about the nominee to lead the FBI. I believe it's New York Times reporting that first revealed that one of the witnesses in the Walt Nauta investigation is an immunized Kash Patel. I mean, is that not relevant to the committees that have to consider him to lead the FBI?
Well, it's interesting. I think that's obviously up to the committee in terms of those things tend to be generated by the committee. I'm not sure what the minority has asked for. What I can tell you is that there seems to be Republican unanimity around Kash Patel on the committee, even though a lot of the members privately have expressed reservations about his nomination. I don't think that's particularly a secret. But again, this has to be generated by the committee, and it's not clear what they have asked for. I also don't know how much would necessarily be part of those immunity agreements. Patel took the fifth, it is our understanding, in the grand jury, which endeared him greatly to Donald Trump. But that's an interesting question. What I can tell you is sources on the Hill tell me that they are not going to embark on the Patel nomination for a while until they get through Pam Bondi, the AG nominee, which is going to happen Wednesday and Thursday next week. I am hearing it could be as late as early or the middle of February before the committee turns its sights on Patel, which will, I think, turn out to be a pretty contentious hearing.
Ruth, the study in your book and the study of anemic democracies is riddled with stories not about only the brutality of the autocratic movement, but the feebleness of the democratic one. This feels like exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah, well, what Glenn was saying about how the tables have turned and things have gone the way that the Trump team needed them to, it's particularly tragic because when we get this first report about attempts to overturn the election, January 6th, you know, today autocrats don't suppress elections altogether. They keep elections going, as in Orban's Hungary. Even Russia has elections, but they manipulate the system in myriad ways to make elections work for them. And so the more we know about what happened, the more we're armed for next time, because this was I see this, what happened after 2020, as a blueprint or a playbook for what they can do to stay in office indefinitely. So so the way that with the resignations, Jack Smith, it feels like a defeat. But as long as we have access to information, which is why autocrats go after journalists and prosecutors, anybody who can conceal, can reveal their secrets, we will be more prepared next time.
I want to ask both of you about the consequences of not seeing or not sharing with our allies the Intel investigation. I mean, Trump had taken to Mar-a-Lago, and nobody even talks about this anymore. It's just the case Cannon is successfully suppressing because of Nauta and De Oliveira is national defense information. That's what he squirreled away. Do you think that'll come up as part of any of the Intel confirmations? Absolutely.
I mean, I really can't stress enough just how important this is. If Kash Patel, we know he, at least in radio appearances, has said that he was aware that President Trump had declassified this information. There are two ways to take that, both not good. One is the way that Jack Smith has said in his indictment and his papers, which is that's not true, which would mean that the nominee for the FBI has lied. That provides compromise. That is also not a good thing for the head of the FBI, to state the obvious. The other way to take it is that Kash Patel told the truth about that, which would mean that the litany of national security information that we have
declassified,
that he declassified all of that.
Yeah.
Now, you asked yourself about our Five Eyes partners, our colleagues, who we count on for our safety, not just their safety. Other people who privately cooperate with us, but don't want it particularly known. This is all so detrimental to our national security. And the idea that there are serious members of the Senate in both parties who understand the national security consequences of that conduct and understand how important the roles of the DNI, the head of Department of Defense, and the FBI are.
Yeah. I mean, you also have Bill Barr basically saying the criminal indictment against Trump in the Marlo Douglas case was essentially a slam dunk.